Two people walk onto the same car lot. Same city, same dealership, same Tuesday afternoon. They both point at the same used Honda Accord. 2021, dark gray, 42,000 miles. The sticker says $22,000. The first person, let's call him Daniel, earns $140,000 a year. Good job. Decent savings. Credit score in the mid-700s and 50s. He gets financing. His rate is 7.4%. Over 5 years, he pays roughly $26,600 total. The second person, let's call her Maria, works as a home health aide in the same city. She earns $31,000 a year. She doesn't have much in savings, a few rough years, a medical bill that went to collections, a credit score sitting at 520. She gets financing too, but her rate is 18.4%. Over 5 years, she pays $33,800. Same car. Same dealership. Same day. Daniel pays $26,600. Maria pays $33,800. That's a $7,200 difference. Not because she negotiated badly. Not because she made a mistake. Because the financial system she was born into charges her more for the same thing. And the car loan, that's just the beginning. There is a documented economic concept called the poverty premium, not a conspiracy theory, not a political talking point. It has been studied by economists, published by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and researched in academic journals going back to the 1960s. The definition is plain. People with lower incomes pay measurably more, in real trackable dollars, for the same goods and services that wealthier people buy for less. More for a loan, more for insurance, more for groceries, more for an emergency, more every single year, just for being in the financial position they're already in. It's a tax with no line on your return. Nobody sends you a bill for it. The extra money quietly disappears across 5 different systems simultaneously, and most people never connect the dots. They just notice that things feel harder than they should. And here's why this matters in 2026 specifically. Wages for working-class jobs have barely kept pace with a cost of living that hasn't stopped climbing since 2021. The households most exposed to the poverty premium are the same households who got squeezed hardest by inflation, and are still being squeezed now. The reason this keeps happening isn't that low-income earners make worse decisions. It's that the financial infrastructure built around them was designed, structurally, deliberately, to extract more from people who have less. Let's follow the money. The term poverty premium was first used by an American sociologist named David Kaplowitz in 1963. His book was called The Poor Pay More, and what he found while studying New York City housing projects was startling for its time. Though it feels obvious in hindsight, low-income families were paying dramatically higher prices for the exact same furniture, appliances, and consumer goods as middle-class families in the same city. The prices weren't higher because the products were better. They were higher because the sellers knew their customers had no alternatives, no car to shop around, no credit to access better terms, no savings cushion to wait for a sale. And so the market charged them more. Kaplowitz called it the exploitation of the disadvantaged by the advantaged. That was over 60 years ago. The mechanisms have changed. In the 1960s, it was installment plan furniture stores in the Bronx. Today, it's subprime auto lenders operating out of buy here, pay here lots, zip code-based insurance pricing algorithms, payday storefronts on every third corner in low-income neighborhoods, and digital cash advance apps with optional tips that calculate out to a 300% annual rate. The names evolved. The math didn't. And the reason this system has persisted for 6 decades isn't negligence. It's profitability. Payday lenders alone drain more than $2.4 billion in fees every year from borrowers in just the 30 states that allow the practice. The subprime auto financing industry moves hundreds of billions of dollars annually. Rent-to-own furniture companies built entire publicly traded corporations around customers who couldn't qualify for a basic credit card. There are industries that depend on the poverty premium to exist, which means there are industries that depend on poverty. Let that sit for a moment. The poverty premium isn't one system. It's 5 systems running simultaneously, pulling from the same household at once. Start with credit. When your credit score is above 750, which correlates strongly with generational wealth, income stability, and simply never having had a catastrophic medical event, lenders classify you as a prime borrower. For a used car in 2024, your interest rate hovers around 7.4%. When your score drops below 500, which happens after medical debt hits collections, or you fell behind during a layoff, or you're in your 20s and just haven't built credit history yet, lenders classify you as deep subprime. Same used car, same $20,000 price tag. Your interest rate is now 21%. On a 5-year loan, that gap is more than $8,000 in additional interest. Not for a worse car, not for a worse deal, just for the number attached to your name in a database. Now stack car insurance on top of that. Most Americans assume insurance rates are based on their driving record. What most Americans don't know is that your zip code, a direct proxy for your neighborhood's income level and racial composition, raises your rate independently of anything you've ever done behind a wheel. In Baltimore, drivers in the majority black neighborhood of Greater Mondawmin pay an average of $2,424 a year for car insurance. Drivers 2 miles west, in the higher-income Hampton neighborhood, pay $1,717. Same city, same roads, $700 more per year, charged to the driver who can least afford it. In Atlanta, the gap stretches to $782 more per year in lower-income zip codes. Then there's emergency credit. What happens when you need $400 and you don't have it? If you have decent credit, you put it on a card at 20% APR and deal with it next month. If you don't, you walk into a payday lender. The CFPB found that the average payday borrower spends $520 just to borrow $375. That's an annual percentage rate of 391%. And because the loan is due in 2 weeks, when most borrowers can't pay it in full, they roll it over, and the fee clock starts again. 1 unexpected car repair, 1 medical copay, 1 week with reduced hours, and a $375 emergency costs you $700 before it's resolved. And then there's groceries, the premium that almost nobody talks about. When you have money left over each month, you buy in bulk. You drive to the warehouse store. You stock up on sale. The per-unit cost of almost everything you consume goes down. When you're living check to check, you buy what you need today at the closest store you can reach. Corner store, dollar store, convenience mart. You can't buy the 12-pack because you only have $15. You buy the 2-pack. And the per-unit cost goes up, sometimes by 50% or more for identical products. Here is the counterintuitive truth at the center of all of this. Wealth is, in the most literal financial sense, a discount card. And poverty is a surcharge. Let's put numbers on this. Not estimated ranges, real documented dollar amounts based on published research and government data. Auto loan interest premium, the extra cost of borrowing at a deep subprime rate instead of a prime rate on a $20,000 used car over 5 years, approximately $1,600 per year. Car insurance, zip code premium, being a safe driver in the wrong neighborhood, in the wrong income bracket, in the wrong zip code, $700 to $800 more per year. Emergency credit access, payday loans, high-rate personal loans, and cash advance apps for households that hit them even twice a year. Conservatively, $600 to $1,000 per year. Grocery and consumer goods premium, the cost of not being able to buy in bulk. Approximately $600 per year for a household of 2, based on documented price per unit differences. And then the smaller fees most people stop noticing. Check cashing at 1 to 3% of every paycheck for the roughly 5 million American households that are unbanked. Overdraft fees at $35 each when a bill clears 48 hours before a deposit lands. Utility deposit requirements for people without credit history. Prepaid card fees on every transaction. Added up. Conservatively, and this is conservative, the poverty premium costs a low-income American household somewhere between $3,500 and $10,000 per year. The median income for a full-time worker earning the federal minimum wage is approximately $31,000 annually. That means the poverty premium can quietly consume 10 to 30% of a low-income household's entire yearly income, not in taxes, not in visible fees on a statement anyone sent them, in the structural surcharge of simply being in the income bracket they're in. And here's what that does over time. Every dollar you manage to save is competing against a system that charges more from the bottom. Every time you get close to a buffer, one of these 5 mechanisms takes another cut. The gap between financially fragile and financially stable isn't just about income. It's about the premium being charged on the fragile side of that line, every single year, that makes crossing it nearly impossible. It's not that people living in poverty make worse financial decisions. It's that money itself is more expensive when you don't have enough of it. In 2024, researchers at the University of Bristol found that highly exposed low-income households can pay over $1,600 annually in poverty premiums. And that was in the United Kingdom. American estimates, when you aggregate across credit, insurance, consumer goods, and emergency access, run significantly higher. David Kaplowitz documented this in 1963. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has published data on it for over a decade. Academic economists have studied it from every angle. The concept even has a name that every policy researcher in Washington knows. And almost nothing structural has changed. The industries that profit from the poverty premium have not shrunk. The payday lending industry processed tens of billions in loans last year. Subprime auto lenders continue to expand their market share. Zip code-based insurance pricing is still legal in most states, despite documented evidence that it functions as a proxy for race and income. The system is not broken. From the perspective of everyone earning from it, it's working exactly as intended. So here's the question I'll leave you with tonight. If this system has a name, if it has been studied for 60 years, documented by federal regulators, measured down to the dollar, and it still exists at full scale in 2026, then the question isn't whether someone could fix it. The question is who benefits enough from it staying broken to make sure that nobody does. That answer, as always, is in the money. If you made it this far, you already think differently about this than most people do. The topics on this channel aren't about quick wins or market predictions. They're about understanding the systems that quietly shape your financial life, so you can stop being surprised by them. If that's the kind of content you want more of, subscribing takes 2 seconds. I'll see you in the next video.